The scent of jasmine, usually a comfort, now clung to me like a shroud. It was Mark's favorite, a fragrance I'd chosen for our engagement party, for our wedding. Today, it simply mocked me. Sunlight, usually a welcome guest, spilled through the floor to ceiling windows of the grand ballroom, illuminating dust motes dancing in the air, each one a tiny, shimmering reminder of shattered dreams. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic bird trapped in a cage. Mark stood across from me, his eyes, once so full of a future we'd meticulously planned, now held a cold, distant flicker. Beside him, Sarah, my best friend, clutched his arm, her smile a carefully constructed mask of concern. Lily, Mark's voice, deeper now, rougher from his time abroad, cut through the buzzing anticipation of our gathered guests. He didn't meet my gaze, his eyes darting to the opulent chandelier above. This isn't easy. A low murmur rippled through the crowd. Aunt Carol, ever the drama queen, gasped, a sound like a deflating balloon. My mother's hand found mine, her grip tight, reassuring. I saw the worry etched around her eyes, the familiar lines of a battle-hardened matriarch bracing for impact. "Mark?" I began, my voice a whisper, barely audible above the rising tide of whispers. "What are you talking about?" He finally looked at me, a flicker of something regret in his eyes, quickly veiled. "I've had a lot of time to think, while I was away." He paused, a dramatic beat. "About us." Sarah squeezed his arm, her eyes wide, glistening with unshed tears. "Oh, Mark, don't do this to her." Her voice, usually so bright, was now a fragile melody of feigned distress. Her performance was almost convincing. Almost. I watched her, a strange calm settling over me. This scene, it was a mirror, a twisted reflection of a past I'd fought so hard to escape. The details were different, the faces slightly altered, but the core betrayal, the gut-wrenching pain, it echoed. Not the same sharp agony, but a dull, familiar ache. "I can't marry you, Lily," he stated, his voice now firm, resolute. He looked directly at me, as if expecting a collapse, a scream, a desperate plea. "My heart, it belongs to someone else." The air thickened, suffocating. A collective gasp rose from the guests. My mother's grip tightened, her knuckles white. I felt a tremor run through her, but I remained still, a statue carved from ice. "Sarah and I," Mark continued, his voice gaining confidence, "we realized our feelings for each other while I was away. It's undeniable." Tara buried her face in his shoulder, a small, choked sob escaping her lips. Her eyes, however, met mine over Mark's shoulder. There was no remorse in them, only triumph. A faint smile touched my lips, a ghost of an old wound. "I see." My voice, surprisingly steady, cut through the hushed silence. "Undeniable, you say?" Mark looked relieved, perhaps surprised by my calm. He'd expected tears, accusations, a scene. I gave him none of it. Not this time. "Lily, please understand," Sarah whimpered, pulling away from Mark, her hands clasped in front of her like a supplicant. "We didn't mean for this to happen. It just did." "Of course," I replied, my gaze fixed on her. "Things just happen, don't they?" The words tasted like ash. My heart, which should have been shattering, felt oddly detached. It was a shield, forged from the fires of a past life's anguish. Mark stepped forward, his brow furrowed. "I know this is hard. I truly do." He reached for my hand. I pulled away before his fingers could brush mine. "Don't." My voice was low, laced with a warning he seemed to miss. "Don't pretend to care." "Cast." He flinched, his hand dropping. "Lily, I—" "No," I interrupted, holding up a hand. "There's nothing more to say. You've made your choice, and I accept it." The words hung in the air, shocking in their simplicity. The guests, who had braced themselves for an explosion, now exchanged bewildered glances. My mother, however, understood. I saw the flicker of recognition in her eyes, the silent acknowledgement of a strength she knew I possessed. a strength born of unimaginable pain. You accept it? Mark stammered, clearly thrown off balance. His carefully rehearsed apology, his plea for understanding, all rendered useless. Yes, I confirmed, a sense of profound peace washing over me. I accept it. Go. Be happy with Sarah. I looked at her, a knowing glint in my eyes. I truly hope you both find what you're looking for. My words were genuine, tinged with a bittersweet irony only I could appreciate. Sarah's triumphant smile faltered, replaced by a flicker of unease. My calm acceptance had robbed her of the dramatic confrontation she craved, the moral high ground she had so carefully constructed. Thank you, Lily, Mark said, relief flooding his face. He looked almost giddy, like a child who had escaped a scolding. He took Sarah's hand, a public display of their new bond. There's no need to thank me, I said, turning to face the bewildered guests. The engagement is off. Enjoy the champagne. I offered a small, polite smile. It wasn't a lie. I was at peace. A profound, unsettling peace. My mother approached, her arm wrapping around my waist. Lily, are you all right? She whispered, her voice thick with emotion. I leaned into her, drawing strength from her familiar scent. I'm fine, Mama. Better than fine. I looked at Mark and Sarah, who were now awkwardly making their way towards a side exit, whispering to each other. This is a good thing. She squeezed me tighter. My brave girl. The following weeks were a blur of sympathetic glances, hushed conversations, and the awkward return of engagement gifts. Sarah tried to call, her voice dripping with false concern, but I never picked up. Mark sent a lengthy text message, filled with platitudes about moving on and finding happiness. I deleted it unread. The peace I felt wasn't numbness. It was an earned tranquility, a quiet understanding that this heartbreak, while painful, was a necessary step. In my previous life, Mark's betrayal had shattered me, leaving me adrift, questioning my worth, my sanity. I had clung to him, desperate for answers, for reconciliation, losing myself in the process. I had lost my family, my career, my very essence, all because I couldn't let go. This time, I knew better. This time, I chose myself. One crisp autumn morning, a month after the non-wedding, I sat in my favorite café, sipping a latte, trying to sketch a particularly gnarled oak tree in my notebook. The aroma of roasted coffee beans and warm pastries filled the air, a comforting embrace. The world felt vibrant again, full of possibilities. Mind if I join you? A voice, deep and resonant, asked from beside my table. I looked up, my pencil hovering over the page. A man stood there, his smile warm, his eyes crinkling at the corners. He was tall, with intelligent, kind eyes, the color of rich earth, and a scattering of laugh lines that spoke of genuine joy. He held a small, intricately carved wooden bird in his hand. It was a kingfisher, its tiny wings poised for flight, its blue plumage almost iridescent. It's a beautiful tree, he said, gesturing to my half-finished sketch. But I think you're missing its soul. I raised an eyebrow, a small smile playing on my lips. And how do you capture a tree's soul? You have to listen to it, he replied, his gaze still on my drawing. Feel the wind through its branches, the history in its bark. He looked at me then, his smile softening. I'm Daniel, by the way. Lily, I offered, a strange warmth spreading through me. And you're a tree whisperer? He chuckled, a low, pleasant sound. Something like that. I'm a wood sculptor. This little fellow, he held up the kingfisher, is my latest attempt to capture a fleeting moment. It's exquisite, I said, genuinely impressed. The detail was incredible, the bird almost alive. Thank you, he beamed. Now, about that seat? I gestured to the empty chair. Please. He settled in, placing the kingfisher carefully on the table between us. So, Lily, what kind of souls do you usually sketch? We talked for hours. About art, about the city, about the absurdities of life. He was witty, insightful, and possessed a quiet confidence that was incredibly appealing. He didn't pry, Didn't ask about my past. Simply listened with genuine interest as I spoke about my passion for design. "You have a wonderful laugh," he said at one point, startling me. I hadn't realized I'd been laughing so freely. A blush crept up my neck. "Thank you." "No, really," he insisted. "It's like sunshine after a long rain." His words, simple yet profound, resonated deep within me. Mark had never noticed my laugh. He'd barely noticed me. Not truly. We met again and again. Daniel was a constant presence, a gentle current pulling me forward. He'd bring me wildflowers, not grand bouquets, but small, perfect arrangements picked from local fields. He'd leave me notes, little haikus about the changing seasons or the beauty of a passing cloud. He remembered every detail, every casual comment I made. One evening, as we strolled through a moonlit park, the scent of damp earth and late-blooming roses heavy in the air, he stopped by a weeping willow, its branches trailing into the pond. "You know," he began, his voice soft, "I feel like I've known you forever, Lily." He turned to face me, his eyes reflecting the moonlight. "And yet, every day, I discover something new and wonderful about you." My heart fluttered, a sensation I hadn't felt in what felt like lifetimes. It was a fragile, tender feeling, like the first shoots of spring after a long winter. "Daniel," I whispered, my throat tight. He reached out, his hand gently cupping my cheek. His touch was warm, reassuring. "I know you've been hurt, Lily. I see it in your eyes sometimes. A shadow that passes." He paused, his thumb stroking my skin. "But I also see so much light, so much strength. And I want to be the one who helps you shine even brighter." A tear escaped, tracing a path down my cheek. It wasn't a tear of sorrow, but of profound gratitude. "How do you know?" He smiled, a gentle, knowing smile. "I listen. I watch. I care." He leaned in, his breath warm against my ear. "And I'm not going anywhere." His words, simple and true, were a balm to my scarred soul. This was different. This wasn't the whirlwind, all-consuming passion I'd mistaken for love before. This was a quiet, steady flame, built on respect, understanding, and unwavering loyalty. Falling for Daniel wasn't a sudden plunge, but a slow, graceful descent, like a feather drifting to the ground. It was a conscious choice, a deliberate opening of a heart I thought was forever sealed. He saw the scars, the emotional armor I wore, and he didn't try to strip them away. Instead, he simply loved me around them, making them feel less like wounds and more like badges of survival. My family adored him. My mother, who had been so worried about me, bloomed with relief. "He's a good man, Lily," she'd said, watching him help my father prune the rose bushes, their laughter echoing through the garden. A truly good man. One afternoon, months into our relationship, I ran into Sarah at the local market. She was pushing a stroller, a fussy baby bundled inside. Her hair was a mess, her eyes tired. She looked nothing like the polished, triumphant woman who had stood beside Mark. "Lily?" she called out, her voice raspy. I paused, a basket of fresh berries in my hand. Part of me wanted to walk away, to ignore her. But the peace I'd cultivated held firm. "Sarah," I acknowledged, a polite nod. She pushed the stroller closer, a strained smile on her face. "It's been a while." "It has," I agreed. "How have you been?" she asked, her gaze sweeping over me, assessing. I knew she was looking for signs of heartbreak, of regret. She found none. "I'm doing well, thank you," I replied, my voice calm, genuine. She shifted her weight, her eyes darting around, avoiding my gaze. "Mark, he's Mark." She offered a weak chuckle. "It's harder than I thought, you know, with the baby and everything." I remained silent, simply observing. She was fishing for sympathy, for an opening. "He's always working late," she continued, her voice tinged with bitterness. "And when he's home, he's distant. He talks about you sometimes, you know." My heart didn't even flinch. "Does he?" "Yeah," she sighed, her shoulders slumping. "Says he made a mistake, that he chose wrong." Her eyes finally met mine, a desperate plea in them. I don't know what to do, Lily. A strange sense of déjà vu washed over me. This was the karma I had known would come. Not a vengeful, spiteful karma, but a natural consequence, a ripple effect of choices made. Sarah, I said, my voice gentle but firm, your choices are your own, just as mine are. She stared at me, a flicker of understanding, perhaps even shame, in her eyes. You're different, Lily. You've changed. Perhaps, I conceded, a small smile touching my lips. I've learned a few things. I looked at the baby, who had finally quieted, staring up at me with wide, innocent eyes. I wish you the best, Sarah. Truly. I turned, my basket of berries swaying gently, and walked away, leaving her standing there, a ghost of her past self. That evening, Daniel met me at my apartment, a new wooden sculpture in his hand. It was a pair of hands, intertwined, cradling a tiny, luminous heart. What is this? I asked, my voice catching in my throat. It's us, he said, his eyes full of love. My heart, safe in your hands. Your heart, safe in mine. He knelt down, pulling a small velvet box from his pocket. Lily, my love, you are the most incredible woman I have ever known. You've taught me what true strength is, what true peace means. You've shown me how to love without fear, without reservation. My breath hitched. I knew it was coming. Will you do me the honor? He continued, opening the box to reveal a simple, elegant silver ring, of being my wife. Tears streamed down my face, hot and joyful. This was real. This was honest. This was everything I had ever truly desired, stripped of the illusions of a past life. Yes, I choked out, a joyous sob escaping. 1,000 times, yes, Daniel. He slipped the ring onto my finger, its cool metal a promise, a tangible symbol of a future built on genuine love. He stood, pulling me into his arms, holding me close. I buried my face in his chest, inhaling his comforting scent, cedar and fresh earth. I love you, Lily, he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. I love you too, Daniel, I replied, my heart soaring. More than words can say. Our wedding was a small, intimate affair, held in a sun-drenched garden, surrounded by close family and friends. No grand ballroom, no opulent chandelier, just the scent of blooming flowers and the gentle hum of happy conversation. My mother cried tears of pure joy. My father beamed with pride. As Daniel and I exchanged vows, looking into his eyes, I knew I had found my true home. He was my anchor, my calm in every storm, the unwavering loyalty I had once believed impossible. He loved me, not for who I pretended to be, or for the image I projected, but for the real, imperfect, resilient woman I was. Years passed, filled with laughter, shared dreams, and the quiet contentment of a life well lived. We built a home together, a sanctuary filled with Daniel's beautiful sculptures and my vibrant designs. We welcomed 2 children into our lives, a boy and a girl, both with Daniel's kind eyes and my stubborn spirit. Sometimes, a fleeting memory of Mark would surface, a ghost of a past life, but it held no power, no sting. It was simply a distant echo, a reminder of the path I had walked to reach this beautiful present. I had lost so much in that other life, clung to so much pain. This time, I had chosen peace. I had chosen myself. And in doing so, I had found a love more profound, more enduring than I could have ever imagined. Daniel was more than just a second chance. He was my forever. He was the quiet strength, the unwavering loyalty, the pure, unadulterated love that had finally set my soul free. And as I watched him play with our children in the garden, his laugh echoing with theirs, I knew with every fiber of my being that karma had truly delivered its most beautiful, most cherished gift. Town. End of Froud.